A girl is sitting on top of a boy while smoking. The boy, in turn, starts waking up, feeling somewhat groggy. At that moment, the woman above him begins to observe him. Then she leans closer, laughing, and comments that it seems he's finally awake. In shock, the red-haired boy wonders where he is and questions what kind of situation he has found himself in. Terrified, he quickly jumps out of bed. Mocking him, the girl asks if the effect of his drug has worn off so soon and mentions that she heard people who are awake are more interesting. At this point, the boy begins to realize what's happening. He soon understands that he has been reincarnated. He remembers that 300 years ago, he accidentally entered the fairy world on Mount Kin Kiang, and from that moment on, began his cultivation journey. In those 300 years, he worked tirelessly to gain knowledge, practicing daily and becoming a sword cultivator. At this moment, he recalls when he finally reached his goal. Perplexed, he realizes that he unexpectedly failed to achieve the eternal realm and feels that he opened the corridor of spacetime, allowing him to return to Earth when he was just 17 years old. However, he still doesn't recognize the woman in front of him or understand what she wants. Still wearing a mischievous smile, she calls him dear and asks him not to be shy and to come back to bed. Dressing himself in his robe while feeling somewhat embarrassed, he explains to the girl that it seems there's been a misunderstanding between them, then concludes that he'll leave. Abruptly standing up, she questions him about his decision. Reproachfully, she says her name is Yi Chong Exi and declares that she won't let him go, adding that seeing her is already a blessing for him. Completely ignoring her, he simply turns his back and heads toward the door. However, she doesn't like his attitude one bit. Sneakily, she lunges at the protagonist, grabbing his arm, and he realizes how strong she is. He tries to free himself, and when he does, some kind of energy begins to emanate from his hands. At that moment, she realizes who he truly is, and the red-haired boy notices that this body has no energy. In an instant, the girl herself starts emitting some kind of energy that sends the protagonist flying. Turning to the side, he spots his school uniform and decides he needs to leave. Quickly, he grabs his uniform and starts running. Still smoking, the girl merely questions if this isn't interesting and comments that he might escape for now. Smiling, she wonders if he thinks he can escape her and states that Chun Jing is her great white horse, so she won't let him go. At this moment, the red-haired boy is already outside, observing the city. Suddenly, he becomes fully conscious, remembering that 300 years have passed and that he can finally return to Earth, then thinks of his father, mother, and brother. Finally, he can see them again. Suddenly, he hears a woman saying that the man is truly problematic and questioning if it's just a bag, also wondering why he should cry about it. With her arms crossed, the woman tells the boy that he shouldn't cry and that today she'll buy it for them. Being quite loving, her boyfriend then hugs her, calling her dear and saying she's very kind. Watching this behavior, the boy becomes somewhat thoughtful. A person approaches, telling him to step aside and not block the way. Turning his face, the red-haired boy realizes it's a muscular woman carrying 2 bags of cement. Now, women seem to be working on some kind of construction. In shock, he wonders what happened and comments that the people here are very different from when he left. Sometime later, at an educational institution in the library, the protagonist is reading a book and explains that, in ancient times during the spring and autumn period, a disaster occurred that changed women's physical conditions, making them smarter and stronger. During this time, a woman named Kong Mo created Confucianism, which is a doctrine that respects women more than men. This shift in imperial power led to the emperor losing his throne and ceding the crown to the princess. Then, in the 21st century, the impact of modern change emerged, and thus the notion of shifting respect for women over men, even though the image of women being above men still existed. For instance, when a married man decides to divorce, it's the man who is divorced. Additionally, in this world, it's normal for a woman to pursue a man. Closing the book, the red-haired boy states that this is ridiculous, that women are superior to men, and that besides, women want to marry men. He only affirms that the world is like this and doesn't even know if his own household follows this rule. His father is doing some kind of cleaning when he notices someone opening the door. It's the protagonist who is amazed to finally see his father again. Without a second thought, he walks for the man and hugs him. His father, named Lin Yentu, comments that his son had said he would go to school and return home later. Suddenly, the old man starts sniffing his son's hair. In shock, he realizes his son is wearing perfume. He immediately asks if he met a woman, then comments that he had already warned his handsome son that it's dangerous for him to go out. Even if it's just a classmate, he must remain vigilant. Grabbing the newspaper, he mentions a story about a 15-year-old girl who ended up in trouble because she trusted her classmate, then questions how this young man will have a future. Not understanding anything, the protagonist starts wondering what he is talking about. Concerned, Lin asks his son if he knows how horrifying this is. He also mentions that his sister has been playing games all day, being from a third-rate university, unable to get a job, and that besides, she has no more experience, leaving only the boy. Trying to change the subject, the redhead says he understands his father and that he should worry. He then shifts the conversation and asks where his mother is, saying the man says that his mother is still discussing business with other people and that now that the business isn't doing well, it has been really difficult. Wanting to escape this situation, the redhead simply says it's time to eat and that he'll call his sister. With nothing to fear, he begins opening the door. His sister is awake, watching something on the computer. This is Chuck Co, who tells the streamer that he should quickly take off his clothes. Enya starts saying a lot of adult things in the chat with a box of wet tissues beside her. Seeing this horrible scene, the protagonist just closes the door from his side. Completely embarrassed, he starts questioning what is going on and wonders if, by any chance, this is a dream. Suddenly, he begins screaming very loudly and startled. The girl just jumps out of her chair. Annoying, she starts asking what's going on. At this moment, she comes out of her room wearing some kind of megwan. With her arms crossed, his sister is very upset as she observes him. Uncomfortable, he comments that it's already time to eat and asks if, by chance, she was watching some kind of adult movie. Smiling, she replies that those don't work anymore, that live streams are better now, and explains that she was just watching a muscular guy who was entertaining. However, she warns her brother that this isn't for boys like him. Relieved, she starts walking around the house, humming. Surprised by her response, the protagonist just laughs. Sometime later, at the end of the day, his sister comes saying she's going out for dinner with her friends and will return later, then asks her father for 1,000 yen. Annoyed, the old man questions what she means by that. His daughter then argues that she's going out to spend time with her friends, and the old man becomes completely irritated. Scolding her, her father explains that it's better to start studying and, as her brother said, if she were at least half as kind as him, they wouldn't have to worry so much. With the money in hand, the girl asks why she should be like him and comments that he always uses man, and then she has to stay quiet because he might still marry a rich woman in the future. Saying goodbye, she warns that she's leaving while her father scolds her not to spend it all. Curious, the hero simply asks his father if it's okay to let her go. Eating an apple, his father explains that she's a woman and that he can't restrain her like he does him because women always have to work and earn money, but his sister's attitude isn't good. In shock, the boy realizes that this world is actually an upside-down world. At that moment, his mother arrives home from work. Facing her so much, she runs to his mother to hug her. Surprised, the woman asks what happened and also questions if her son hasn't already received her friendship. Then she hands him some money. Devastated, the protagonist remembers that he used to trick his mother into giving him 21 yen to play at the internet cafe and wonders about now as she gives money like it's nothing. Returning the money, he tells his mother that he doesn't need it. Laughing, the woman says he can keep it. She adds that their family is going through tough times but won't let it affect him, especially his academic performance as he is her greatest pride. Changing the subject entirely, she asks about her daughter Chiu Chao. Still irritated, her husband says the mother should talk to her and informs her that the girl just left. Grabbing a glass of water, the woman remarks that her daughter is wasting time and wasn't raised this way, but she'll realize it soon enough. Somewhat flushed, her husband agrees with his wife, saying she's right. Still surprised, the protagonist wonders what's going on and thinks that even though he knows this world is upside down, seeing his parents like this is unacceptable. At that moment, the woman hugs her husband, saying he's right and that men have it easy in life. She also explains that life is much harder for women, so he should let her continue until she realizes it. Watching all this, the protagonist just finds it very unpleasant. Leaving the room, he announces that he's going to his bedroom. Upon entering his room, he notices that it's decorated in a feminine style. As he walks through the space, he wonders if it's really his room. In this world that values women's rights, families always hope to have daughters. This has been the norm for years, creating a significant difference in the female and male populations worldwide. As a result, tens of millions of women remain single in the country. Women who want to marry a good man must have their own house and a nice car, and men who are handsome will be pursued by them. At this moment, the protagonist approaches his desk with a confident smile and declares that with his looks, he ends up being a great catch for many women. He then opens his drawer. Ending the suspense, he finds several sealed love letters. Surprised, he thinks that he is indeed the school's heartthrob, the most desired of the prep school. Lying on the bed, he considers this a curse and decides he must cultivate and do everything to leave this world as soon as possible. While meditating, he realizes that the aura here is very rich and strong, and if that's the case, he can recover all his training, as well as the skills he lost during his spacetime journey. He declares that he must open the spacetime corridor so he can return to his own world. Desperate, he understands that he needs to leave this reverse world and states he can't wait any longer. Some time passes, and it's already night at his house. After practicing the Golden Freedom Jaidu, his 5 senses have sharpened. Confident, he decides to try escaping this world. He focuses on the energy surrounding the house. He notices that his father and mother are asleep, then wonders where his sister is and whether she hasn't returned yet. Putting his hand through his face, he remembers that in this world, roles between men and women are reversed, so it's not surprising for a woman to stay out late. Somewhat concerned, he decides to call his sister. He asks her what's going on, and she answers. On the other end of the line, she screams for him to listen. On the floor, on her knees, held down by 2 women, she says she's in trouble. Nervous, the boy starts questioning his sister about what happened. Explaining, she tells him there's a black bag under her bed, and that he must bring it now because she's at the Crescent Bar on High Street. Taking the hostage's phone, a blue-haired woman calls out to the boy, saying that if he wants his sister to be safe, he must bring the bag to room 302. With a hateful expression, the protagonist simply confirms that he will do it. Some time passes, and it's already early morning. The red-haired boy is ready to leave the house through the window, declaring that he won't let this happen. Skjel in the side of the building, he asserts that no one should mess with his family. Using the skills he acquired in the past, he manages to leap from building to building. In no time, he reaches the Crescent Bar at room 302. Entering the place, he immediately sees his sister screaming for him. Without ceremony, the boy simply tosses the black bag onto the table. He says it's here and demands they release his sister now. Crossing her arms, the bandit tells the boy to listen and comments that his face is even more beautiful in person than in photos. Approaching, she asks how old he is, and abruptly, he responds that it's none of her business. Annoyed by his response, the woman grows visibly irritated. Looking to the side, she spots the black bag. As he approaches, he opens it and finds a large amount of money. Completely shocked, his sister starts questioning how there's money in the bag. Not believing what he heard, the protagonist wonders if she really didn't know there was money in the bag and thinks it must be at least $1 million. Desperate, the girl calls out to her brother, Zhu, saying she didn't know there was money inside and that Xiaola had only asked her to keep it for a while. Interrupting the conversation, the woman tells her to shut up and says she doesn't think she has the guts to steal from her, then accuses Lin of daring to take her place and even steal her money. Looking back, she tells the girl to leave and warns her to do it before she changes her mind. Nervous, the girl just hugs her brother and as they try to leave, the blue-haired woman tells him to wait. She questions if anyone had said her brother could leave as well. Sweet and cold, the girl thinks she knew it wouldn't be so easy. Laughing, the blue-haired woman says her brother is handsome and young and while she's fine with her leaving, he must stay. Irritated, Xiao says she won't let them touch him. Feeling scared, she tells Zhu not to involve his siblings in these matters and insists he let them go. Laughing, the woman says she should be the one to stay. With a malicious smile, she tells the girl that she's free to leave but that otherwise, she'll have to work hard. Without a second thought, the girl says it's fine and that she'll stay here. Looking back, she tells her brother to go home first and that she'll catch up later, saying it's not safe for a man to be here and that she'll handle it. Removing the girl's arm from his path, Zhu asks his sister if she thinks he has no morals. Approaching with his hands in his pockets, he asks Xiao if she wants him there. Both begin staring at each other. With a psychotic smile, the woman calls him a damn brat and asks if he wants to die, then warns that she'll take him to bed and torture him in every possible way. Without allowing further dialogue, the protagonist simply slaps the woman across the face. In the background, his sister Wei Ying is in shock. Very angry, Zhu charges at him to punch him, but he counters and the two end up trading blows. They quickly back off and thus the fight begins. Smiling, the protagonist says this is interesting as he considers that the women of this world have enormous power. With his hand injured, Zhu orders the women to go after him. Confident, Xiao says they should attack if they can. Jumping very high, he manages to dodge and attack. Then he uses some kind of physical skill similar to a whirlwind. In just a few seconds, Everyone is already on the ground and he says it's over and they should leave. As they're leaving, they hear a strange noise. Looking back, they see the girl armed saying that if they take a step, she'll shoot. She then asks if they think they're faster than bullets. Taking the lead, her brother tells Zhu not to do this and that he should forgive his brother. Still angry, the woman curses him saying it doesn't matter and that while she begs, she'll kill him right here. With the foam in hand, the protagonist comments that she's the one who wants this. At that moment, a woman who's smoking starts laughing, saying it's an interesting sight. As she approaches, she asks why she wasn't invited. Looking closer, he realizes this boy is the same Xing King from before. At this moment, he begins to worry, remembering when he met her. Curious, he asks why she's here and laughing, the woman explains that this place belongs to her. She then calls Xiao, saying she'll handle him and that she should leave. Surprised, Zhu calls her a crazy sister and questions if she wants to break the rules. Wu, with a murderous look, asks what she means by that. At that moment, she orders her security to take her away, cut off her hands and feet, and throw her onto the street. Hearing this, the blue-haired woman collapses to the ground, trembling. Desperate, she starts crying, saying no and that she started for this. Showing mercy, the woman looks back and says they should only cut off one hand and one foot. Smiling, she tells Zhu Xing that this is her gift to him and asks if he likes it. Surprised, Wu then asks if she's being kind to him. Kong, with a gentle look, says yes and that he's the first to dare to speak to her this way, being different from the others. Laughing, she says she's already made up her mind and informs the boy that he will be her 36th boyfriend. He slaps her hand away, apologizing and saying he's not interested, adding that he can very well take care of himself. Zhu Xing simply wonders who would even want to be someone's 36th boyfriend. Awkwardly, the girl remarks that he's just a simple man with a small body and could easily be one of Zhou's night women. Mocking her, the protagonist asks if she really thinks that and whether she dares to compare her strength to his. Terrified, his sister whispers, asking if he's lost his mind and how he could possibly compare himself to a woman as strong as her. After hearing this, he asks if she's full of herself. Responding boldly, he invites her to a challenge and declares that if he wins, she must stop bothering him. Surprised, she asks if he has forgotten that he's a man. With a mischievous smile, he questions why she's so scared. Still, the woman introduces herself as Shen Kashi, asserting that there's nothing she can't do. However, she adds that she also has a condition. If she wins, he will become her boyfriend. Without thinking twice, the boy accepts. Sometime later, the two are facing each other on a stage. A trio of women begins commenting on the duel and one of them says that if it were her, she'd want to play with the boy until the end while her friends laugh in. Hearing all this, the protagonist reflects that in this world, women truly are strong and see men as insignificant beings. Smiling, the girl tells Zhu she'll make him understand the vast gap between men and women, a gap as wide as heaven and earth. They then decide to start the arm wrestling match. With a confident smile, the woman begins to emit some kind of supernatural energy. Struggling, he realizes she's very strong and that the women of this world are truly extraordinary. However, he changes his expression, declaring that he is no ordinary human. Wu, for her part, notices the boy's change, and then he quickly defeats her in the arm wrestling match, leaving her completely stunned. After the duel ends, he reminds her that he won and that she must not forget their bet. Afterward, the protagonist grabs his sister's arm and they leave together while everyone comments on what just happened. Having lost the duel to a man, Wu is furious. One of the guards approaches, saying she'll go after him, but receives only a slap from her boss. Angrily, Wu tells her to shut up, claiming that she hasn't lost yet. From the stage, she calls out to Chu Qing, saying that he surprised her but that he shouldn't forget that a man like him is destined to take care of a woman's wings, and her offer still stands. Frustrated, the pedagogue questions why men have to cling to women and says they have feet and hands, so they can carve their own path independently. Seeing this, one of the women asks if, by chance, he has a faulty brain. Smiling, Wu remarks that since ancient times, men have been pursued by women and women are the pillars of this world. She adds that women are the ones steering the changes in social matters. Twisting her hair, she says even children know that. At that moment, one of the women asks what's so special about a man like him. She questions how many male heroes there are in literature, concluding that women are more important in society. Approaching, the protagonist questions Wu, asking what she means by that. Pointing upward, he declares that all he knows is that men are constantly striving to improve. Therefore, resting on the lap of a beautiful woman and working to be rewarded is what men do. After this declaration, he simply leaves with his sister. Frustrated, one of the guards calls out to Ms. Wu. Her boss then asks if she doesn't find that man fascinating, stating that he's her type and that she won't let him go. The guard calls Ms. Wu again, saying they need her to return immediately. However, the woman responds that she's only been away for 2 days and asks how she could return now, adding that they should stop addressing her that way since her sister is still alive. Sometime later at night, Xiao is walking with her brother and asks if he plans to tell their parents about this. The boy responds that he will, then questions what she couldn't have done without him. Deeply irritated, the girl asks if he was threatening her about what happened. Pausing to think about it now, she asks how he became so strong. She then questions if she can't marry Ichen in the future, saying she's an heir to a very important family in the city. She concludes that if they marry, she will benefit, and besides, she's only a few years older than him, which leaves the boy completely dismayed. Profoundly annoyed, he tells her to shut up, saying one more word and he'll send her back to that bar. Sometime later, already at the protagonist's house, he meditates, thinking that he wants to regain his previous power as quickly as possible because his current strength isn't enough, and for now, his training has only sharpened his senses and improved his vision. Meanwhile, his sister is watching and impatiently tells her little brother to take off his pants already. However, the protagonist overhears this as he's using his sensory training. Dismayed, he thinks that this Chuck Xiao was worse than his sister in the original world. The next day at Inman High School, the hero is already dressed in his school uniform ready for class. In the background, someone calls his name. Confused, he wonders if this is his best friend, Lin Dong. At that moment, his friend approaches, asking what he was doing yesterday and why he didn't answer his calls. Quickly, the boy distances himself. Not understanding anything, his friend asks why he's acting so strange. Laughing, Chu just says to forget it, that he's fine and that he's leaving now. As he walks away, he thinks that this Barbie could never be his friend. In the classroom, Chu feels dismayed, affirming that he can't stand staying in this world anymore. Suddenly, someone approaches and taps him on the shoulder. Confused, the boy looks to the side. It's Song Shaoran, the class president, who asks Chu if he's feeling unwell. Awkwardly, he replies that he's fine and that he just didn't eat well for breakfast and is already hungry. Very shyly, the girl says she has something to eat, but he wants and reminds him that the university entrance exam is soon, so he needs to be okay. In the background, someone questions the girl with glasses, asking how she dares to talk to him and if she has a problem. It's another classmate of Chu. Quickly, she approaches the boy and asks if he read the love letter yesterday. Without thinking twice, the protagonist punches the woman in the chest, telling her to back off. Seeing the boy's strength, everyone is shocked. Irritated, the woman asks who he thinks he is and asserts that he's just a man. She then prepares to punch him in the face. However, someone steps in, telling them to stop immediately. It's Wei Mao, Wei King's brother. The bully is surprised to see Wei Mao and asks what he's doing here. Answering, the boy just says she should leave before he gets tired of her. Running off, the bully claims she's only leaving because he's Wei King's brother. Ma then comments to Chu that he has something to say and asks if he has a minute to talk. Sometime later, both are on the school rooftop. Apologizing, Ma says he's really sorry for yesterday and that he heard about what happened with his sister. He explains that when he asked someone to pick him up, he lost track on his location. Flashing back to yesterday, the protagonist stands in front of the Wee family house. Ma then asks his sister to drive the boy home. Inside the car, she offers him water. She says she doesn't have any other drinks, but if he's thirsty, he should drink this. The protagonist accepts the drink without hesitation. Despondent, Ma apologizes again, saying that if he had realized what his sister would do, he wouldn't have asked her to drive him. However, Chu tells him to forget about it, not to dwell on it or feel guilty, then suggests they head back inside. After class ends, everyone begins to leave. Looking to the side, the boy notices a car approaching. It's Wei Mao's sister, who asks the protagonist to get in the car. Suspicious, he asks why he should do that while wondering why she's following him. Smiling, the woman simply warns him to think about his family. Having no choice, Chu decides to get in the car while the girl says this calls him handsome. Chu then warns her that she made a grave mistake by involving herself with his family. Using the reverse card, the girl comments on the possibility that she might not be referring to a threat. However, the hero says that whether it's a threat or not, she wouldn't need to mention it otherwise. Suddenly, he breaks some sort of crystal hanging in the car. Approaching the girl, he states that she should understand the consequences of daring to threaten him. Nervously, he explains that it's not a threat and that she can genuinely help his sister and mother. She adds that she knows his family's company has been having issues recently. With a sadistic smile, the boy questions whether she feels sorry for him. She responds, saying she'll only say it once, explaining that she's pursuing him. She suggests they start as friends and she'll take care of his family's business problems. Hearing this, Chu steps back. Casually, he says it's fine and that they can start as friends. With a suspicious air, he comments that if this was her intention, she shouldn't try to mess with him again. Irritated, he tells E to leave quickly. Sometime later, the girl calls the protagonist, saying she has something to ask him. With a sharp look, she asks if he practices ancient martial arts. However, the hero quickly responds that he doesn't. The woman then says she knows he lied about his strength and isn't like other men. She reveals that she did some investigating into him and his family. She concludes that even if she asks, he wouldn't answer because it must be a secret. After hearing this comment, the hero remains silent. However, looking to the side, he sees a truck approaching. He only has time to shout, "Watch out," but unfortunately, the truck collides head-on with the car. Due to the strong impact, the car of the protagonist is in ghost flying. It crashes onto the road, already overturned. Severely injured, he asks if she was okay. In this case, the boy managed to protect her by using his body as a shield. Surprised, she realizes that he's hurt. Resolute, she picks the girl up by the waist and breaks the car door. He then declares that they both need to get out of the car. After exiting the vehicle while carrying E in his arms, the girl says he's very injured and that they need to go to the hospital immediately. However, the protagonist questions what she's talking about and asks if she thinks it's over. At that moment, several people approach them. It turns out to be a group of women holding baseball bats. Taking the lead, the leader asks how they dared to hurt her man and declares she will kill them all. Without engaging in dialogue, the women attack, some wielding baseball bats, others with glass bottles, and another with a mashi. At this moment, E leaps and uses her abilities to defend herself. Meanwhile, a gray-haired woman approaches the boy with a mashi in hand. Clenching his fists, he thinks that once again, he has been underestimated. Quickly, he lands a powerful punch on the girl's ribs, disarming her. With the force of the impact, she is thrown far away, landing on the ground, already defeated. At the same time, he is fighting all four thugs simultaneously. With a serious look, the protagonist picks up the mashi from his opponent. Determined, he charges at the group surrounding Shangchai. In no time, he reaches the scene and strikes 3 women with a single blow, sending them flying. Seeing this, 2 women are left in shock. Completing her attack, E strikes both of them with the palm of her hand. All the women in question were defeated without much effort. Pleased with everything, E tells the protagonist that what he did was amazing. However, Mai responds that it was nothing and says she should handle the rest. Agreeing, her colleague says she'll call someone to take care of it and admits that if it weren't for the hero, she could have been in serious trouble. She then asks if he's really a prep school student. Explaining the situation, Chu says they can't eat anymore tonight and will have to reschedule as it's already late and his father must be worried. At that moment, the girl's phone starts vibrating. She answers asking what happened. Within seconds, her expression becomes perplexed and the hero notices. He begins to ask what really happened. However, she turns her face away saying it's not important because it has nothing to do with him. She adds that other people's family matters aren't something a prep school student like him should deal with. Suddenly, E approaches the hero, grabbing his arm and telling him not to leave. With a trembling voice and already crying, she says that her mother was seriously injured in an attack and that she is at home at this very moment. Suspicious of the situation, Chu comments that both she and her mother were attacked at the same time, which means it can't be a coincidence, concluding that Jimmy's underworld will face a major shift. Worried, Wei talks about the possibility of her mother dying and her aunt taking control, which would certainly lead to her being expelled from the family. She then asks what she should do. Trying to calm her, he tells her not to cry as he will go with her, explaining that the family now depends on her, meaning she has to be strong and stay firm. He concludes that he can at least help lift her spirits. Surprised, the girl wonders why this is happening now and thinks about how she could really trust a man's feelings. Without hesitation, she approaches the hero and hugs him. Sometime later at night, at the Wei family home surrounded by security, the young lady arrives saying she's finally there. Somewhat worried about the situation, the girl asks how things are. In response, the woman says the situation is difficult. She can't enter because Ms. May said no one is allowed inside except for the madam. Irritated, the girl questions how this woman dares to do such a thing, while the protagonist asks who is Wei Mayan is. Shang-Chi explains that she's just the aunt her mother mentioned, someone who has been in the family for years, always scheming with other families in court, but since there was no concrete evidence, nothing could be done about her. Frustrated with her aunt, she tells the protagonist to accompany her there. However, one of the guards questions who the boy is, saying he can't pass. Arguing back, Wei asks how she dares mystery her guests and questions who she thinks she is. Intervening, the protagonist claims to be a doctor and says he's here to check on Ms. Wei, silently thinking how lucky he is to rise in this fairy world hierarchy. Seeing this, the women start laughing, wondering aloud if a man could actually be a doctor. However, the hero calmly states that one of them has had a reproductive nervous system infection for years and mentions that the other suffers from plomanacenes, likely due to practicing martial arts from all angles and adopting traditional Chinese medicine recently. The blue-haired woman thinks that explains why her colleague takes so much medication, while the purple-haired one admits she can't criticize her, as she also takes medicine for intestinal pain relief. Both bow, saying he should go in. At that moment, Wei's aunt approaches. This is Wei Mei, who remarks that it's fortunate she arrived on time, as otherwise, who knows what might have happened. She's standing next to Wei Meyer. Deeply irritated, the girl expresses her frustration with her aunt and her love for her mother, insisting that she wants to see her now. With a mocking look, the woman says the young lady is very rude and asks if she shouldn't respect the hierarchy and call her aunt. Pointing at the boy, she questions how he dared bring this strange man and states that no man is allowed to enter the Wei family. However, the young lady explains that he's the doctor she called and insists they both be let in immediately. Surprised, the older woman says she thought he was just someone who had been brought home a few days ago. She explains that if he wants to enter, a man in the Wei family must possess certain skills. Otherwise, he won't pass through this door. Initially, she asks her daughter to test how skilled this man is, and the girl agrees. The aunt thinks that if her daughter marries Wei Chen's man, she will fight to protect him, breaking family rules, and no one will protect her. Meyer calls the boy handsome, saying that if she wins, he must promise her something. Smiling, he asks what she wants. With a suspicious look, the girl replies that if she wins, he must spend one night with her. However, Shang-Chi intervenes, telling Meyer not to go too far. At that moment, the hero grabs his arm and says it's fine and they should start. Suddenly, something moves toward the protagonist. Entering the fray, she tries to kick her niece, but he manages to defend himself, thinking she said that only to distract him. Counterattacking, Chu lands a punch in the girl's stomach. Due to the blow, she was flying backward, while her mother desperately calls out to her. Angrily, the hero asks if she still wants to spend the night with him. In the background, the aunt says this is horrible and calls him an animal, but the girl says that's enough and admits she was the one who provoked him. Mocking her, Chu tells the woman to take her daughter to the hospital because he cannot guarantee she isn't one of the impatients. As they leave, the woman holds her daughter in her arms, cursing them and calling him very cruel. Sometime later, inside the girl's house, the aunt can't seem to calm her mind as she waits for her niece. The woman hugs the girl, saying she's finally back. Changing the subject, Shang-Chi asks where her mother is, and her aunt replies that she's okay but her injury is severe and all they can do is keep her under observation. Joining the conversation, the protagonist says that if this is true, they can't wait any long, he might be able to help. Confused, the blonde woman asks who this boy in front of her is. Ignoring the question, the hero simply says they need to trust him. Shang-Chi explains that this is her friend who was also attacked but was lucky to be with her help. She adds that he's also a doctor. They then enter the woman's room and the girl rushes to her mother, hugging her and asking if she's okay. A bit weak, the woman asks who this boy is. Chu replies that he's a doctor and that Shang-Chi entrusted him with her care so he needs to see her wounds. Laughing, the woman says she doesn't believe he can do much about it and excuses herself for a moment, saying she needs to talk to her daughter privately. At that moment, the girl's aunt gestures to him to leave. Wu tells her mother that she should let him examine her because he's amazing and if it weren't for him, she would have been hurt today. Surprised, the woman realizes it's the first time her daughter has spoken positively about a man and wonders if he's truly different from the rest. Chu then states that her assessment is correct and explains that she was attacked and struck with a harmful energy on the left side of her back. He asks if she's weakened due to all the energy used to fight against the intrusive force. Shocked, the woman seems to realize he's absolutely right. In a calm yet serious tone, she asks her daughter to leave because she wants to talk to the boy alone. Hearing this, her daughter becomes a bit nervous, not understanding what's going on. At this moment, the hero is alone with the injured woman. Irritated, She questions if he was sent by the Lee family and asks what his intentions are regarding her daughter. The boy replies that he's not from the Lee family. He explains that she should ask her own daughter about her interest in him. He concludes by stating that if he hadn't saved her, she would already be dead. After hearing this, the woman says she believes him. She then decides to show him the wound. Removing her clothes, she warns the boy that if he does anything to her daughter, she'll cut off his head. With a nosebleed, Chu thinks she shouldn't undress so suddenly, and that even though he's underage, he's still a man. However, when he opens his eyes, he notices something strange. It's a type of curse marked on the woman's back. Nervous, she comments that whoever attacked caused more damage than he imagined, and that while she can resist for now, it will destroy her internal organs within 5 days. The E family's housekeeper then asks if he can do anything about it. Placing his hands on her back, he affirms that he will try. At that moment, he uses some kind of healing magic. The curse mark appears to be absorbed by the boy's hand. While this happens, the woman feels a kind of pain. Focused, the hero channels much of his energy to heal her. He sighs, saying his current level can only manage this much for now, and that he doesn't dare extract it all at once since he doesn't know what might happen. Impressed, the woman asks how he did that and says the important thing is that she feels better now. Smiling, she asks if there's any way she can thank him and whether there's something he wants. Awkwardly, she apologizes, saying her daughter is his friend and he felt he had to do it. Embarrassed, the woman starts laughing, saying they're just friends and that she'd forgotten about that. Sometime later, Shang-Chi tells the protagonist that he's incredible and that she never thought he'd be able to heal her mother like that. The one hugging him says he should leave tonight because she has a reward to give him. Pulling away from her, the boy explains that if his parents find out he spent the night at a girl's house, they'll go crazy. Saying goodbye, Wei agrees, saying he's right, calling him handsome, and reminding him to be careful not to fall into temptation. At this moment, the hero is looking at his hand. Some sort of cursed energy is always present on his palm. Nervous, he thinks this thing is a curse that he can't eradicate with his current level and that in the fairy world, there's an elixir that can deal with it. He wonders if something similar exists in this world. The next day, the hero is walking towards school. Looking to the side, he sees several men calling out to Tang Ziyun in admiration. She is the purple-haired girl who's just made of basket. Watching her, the protagonist realizes it's really her. She was his first love back in preparatory school. Excited, the boy says she makes his heart melt while someone else remarks that Tang is a genius. At that moment, the hero remembers that things are different in this world and that here they don't know each other. So he decides not to bother her or embarrass himself in front of her. Suddenly, someone calls out and I'm asking him to wait. It's Tang who asks the protagonist if they've met before. In response, the boy says they go to the same school, so probably yes. Arguing, the girl says that's not what she meant and nervously, she thinks it's just like the other world where she's always investigating. Approaching him, she asks if he wants to play basketball, saying she'll teach him. Receiving the invitation, he just smiles and quickly steals the ball from her hands. While they interact, his index finger suggests they should play a match. Irritated, the purple-haired girl says it should be a competition and if she wins, he'll be her boyfriend. With a mischievous tone, she asks what will happen if he wins and she responds that she'll do whatever he wants. Everyone starts commenting that Tang Ziyun is about to play against the most talented boy in the school. On the basketball court, Ziyun makes her move. Quickly, she gets past the protagonist. She then shoots a three-pointer and makes the basket, leaving him completely impressed. As the girl plays, everyone says Ziyun will make him her boyfriend and that she's the best. Confident in her victory, Tang says she won't hold back and wants him as her boyfriend. With his hand on his neck, the protagonist casually says she should try again. However, the girl charges at him again with the basketball. She makes an impressive leap to make the basket, but she notices something strange. She manages to block her attack and prevents her from scoring. The ball is sent flying far away. Impressed, someone wonders how a man can jump so high. Preparing to attack, the boy states it's his turn now. He charges toward the hoop for a point. In an impressive move, he jumps very high and makes a slam dunk. And just like that, he scores. Disheartened, Tang admits defeat. Getting straight to the point, she asks what he wants from her. Approaching her, the protagonist touches her face and asks if she wants to be with him. The boy is watching feel embarrassed, saying he's so cool and completely nailed it. At that moment, Ziyun starts smiling. Blushing, she says that if he wants to be with her, he'll need to be stronger. Seeing this, the hero is shocked. He wonders when this girl became so proud of herself. Sometime later, at the wife family's house, the hero is once again healing the woman. Meanwhile, he thinks about how, when he helped her aunt heal her wounds, he also made a 30% advancement in his pure aura and spiritual body. After finishing the task, the protagonist begins to leave. Just outside the house, she's talking with Shang-Chi, who says he saved her and her mother and asks what kind of reward he wants. At that moment, the hero imagines some sort of bizarre fantasy. Embarrassed, Chu starts to walk away, saying he needs time to think about it. On his way home, he thinks that during his next treatment for Aunt Wei, his spiritual body might fully awaken, making significant progress in this world. At that moment, someone steps out of a purple car wearing extravagant clothing. The person approaches the protagonist, asking if he's the so-called Chu King and if it's true that he's been an after Tangxian. Mocking him, the boy asks if he thinks he's handsome and wonders if he's ever met Lai Wu Witch. Disheartened, the hero wonders if this guy is an idiot. Charging forwardly, asks if Chu is deaf since he's talking to him and prepares to slap him. However, the hero quickly grabs his opponent's wrist, immobilizing him in an instant. Lai then yells to his security team, asking what they're doing and demanding they help him deal with this bastard. At that moment, the protagonist attacks, landing a kick on both guards. Afterward, he grabs Li's head and slams it into the ground. With a serious expression, he warns that next time Li wants to fight, he should bring more people. Angry, the man says the Li family won't let him get away with this and tells him not to think he'll have Yen because she will marry him. Punching the man in the face, the hero tells him he's too noisy and a nuisance. After beating the purple-haired man, Chu cleans his hands. As he walks away, he wonders if Tang Xiu's decision has put his family in trouble and questions how they could agree to a marriage with the Li family. He decides to investigate further to gather more information. He quickly remembers Shang-Chi offering to reward him and decides to ask her for a favor. At that moment, he sends her a message saying he needs a private investigator for something. In response, she transfers money to him, saying he should keep it. However, the hero questions why she did that. Confused, the poor student realizes she might assume he doesn't have much money, but he understands that the funds are indeed necessary for investigating and buying information. He then makes a call asking if he's speaking to Hua Hua and begins to explain why he reached out. Interrupting, the girl asks if he's calling for love, stating she's not cheap. Sometime later, in a kind of restaurant, the hero sits waiting for someone. While sipping a drink, he recalls that when he called the information broker, she didn't ask for anything up front. Since she's a woman, he wonders if she's trustworthy. At that moment, someone approaches, tapping him on the shoulder. It's Shan Hua Hua, 23 years old, greeting him. Approaching shyly, she asks what kind of information he wants. In shock, he wonders if she's really this girl, thinking she looks like a loli. Smiling, Shen explains that it's indeed her, and he can just call her Hua. She then asks about his relationship with Yi-chun. She asserts that the girl isn't his girlfriend and invites him to date her, leaving him utterly shocked. Coughing, the protagonist explains that he wants to buy information and asks if she knows anything about Tang Xian's family. Surprised, the girl asks if he's referring to the Tang Xian he faced in a basketball match, and whether she's his girlfriend. He denies it. At that moment, he wonders how this girl knows such things about him and whether she investigated him. Placing her hand on her face, Shin asks if she can pursue the protagonist. However, he corrects her, saying she should seriously focus on finding someone else to buy information from. Getting straight to the point, the girl explains that the Tang family is a prominent commercial family, with the corporation as their headquarters and many of the city's major companies belong to them. She mentions that recently there have been issues in the Tang family's industrial chain, causing financial difficulties, and the Li family proposed a marriage alliance. She explains that marrying Lai or Wei to Tang Xian, the head of the Tang family, would allow the Li family to support the Tang family. The girl thinks to himself that he didn't expect Tang Xian to have so many secrets in her past life and wonders if she didn't mention it to avoid burdening him. The little girl then asks if that's all he wanted to know. However, the hero says he also wants to know something about alchemy. The investigator explains that the Tang family is a family of alchemists specializing in elixirs and medicine. At that moment, she was surprised, realizing that alchemist families truly exist in this world. Curious, he asks the girl if she can provide all the information. Embarrassed, she says yes, but adds that it depends on the terms he proposes, calling him Little Handsome. Indignant, he asks her to stop looking at him like that, and she just laughs. She explains that there are two types of alchemy they know about. The first is common alchemy, where alchemists use extraordinary internal power for elixirs, which is the Tang family's specialty. However, the second type of alchemy utilizes mysterious spiritual power, which she hasn't fully understood yet. Upon hearing this, the protagonist is shocked and wonders if there are people in this world who are like him. After all that, the girl says she sold the information, totaling 100,000, and because he's handsome, she'll give him a 20% discount. She then asks if there is information about confidential transactions such as medicinal ingredients and other things. Fua says that if he accompanies her to dinner, she'll tell him. Sometime later, both are walking down the street near a food stall. A boy calls her by name, asking if she's here to eat today. Sitting down, she orders 20 pork breasts and 4 cold beers. Impressed, the hero wonders if women in this world also like eating pork breasts and questions if this is normal. Walking around, he notices that all the women are eating pork breasts and drinking a lot of beer. Placing his hands on his face, he realizes he has forgotten this world as his original one. Sometime later, the girl already seems drunk. In this state, she is very close to the protagonist. Crying, she says that the boy she likes rejected her because he thinks she's poor even though she's liked him for years. She explains that she's indeed flat-chested, but she has a small house and always plays video games. She asks if he doesn't think she deserves someone, but she responds that he doesn't. Upon hearing this, the girl pulls her hands away. Blushing, she asks the protagonist if, by any chance, he likes her. Sometime later, the boy is carrying her in his arms, telling her she shouldn't drink so much if she can't handle it. Chivalrously, the protagonist takes her to her home. As he thinks about how this blonde can't manage her own house, he concludes that she truly is a homemaker. The hero then places her on the bed to sleep. However, she quickly approaches him, grabbing him. With a trembling voice, she asks him to stay with her and she accepts. Smiling, the girl says that's wonderful. Suddenly, she falls asleep on top of the protagonist. Sometime later, he has covered her with a blanket and is checking his phone messages. He starts reading news about the Tangs, the family that is in danger. He also finds information about the Shinzen auction house, the most important one in Jimin, a business managed by a family knowledgeable in ancient martial arts. Smiling, he thinks it's impossible to survive in any world without money and that, thanks to the gods, he has something of great value. A few days pass and the hero is sitting on a rooftop channeling energy. He understands that in the world of immortals, there is something known as a spiritual stone, which is used to accelerate cultivation and aid in practicing ancient martial arts. These stones can be obtained through veins or by cultivating eternity that absorbs the aura of heaven and earth. However, in this world, spiritual stones don't exist, so it's worth enlightening the ones he has. He states that as long as he makes them, money won't be a problem. At the Goizu family home in the late afternoon, the girl's mother is isolating some kind of energy as well. Smiling, she declares that her strength is back and tells the harpy to wait and see because she will return the favor. Praying for the boy, she thanks him, saying that if he ever has any trouble in the future, he only needs to ask, and they will help immediately. As he leaves, Chu reflects that he has completed the detoxification process for Madame's body and that now her spiritual power has been released to a certain extent. Thus, the mission is to cultivate it fully. At that moment, someone calls out to Chu King, telling him to wait. It's Shang-Chi who approaches and kisses him. And so the girl manages to do so. Embarrassed, she thanks the boy for healing her mother's daughters and explains that it's a small gift from her. Suddenly, a security guard appears, calling for the young lady and stating that she's being summoned for an urgent meeting. Saying goodbye to the protagonist, she apologizes, saying she has to go and can't stay today, but one day, she will give him her complete gift. A bit awkward. The hero thinks being kissed by a girl like her isn't bad at all. Later, at his home, he is sitting on the bed, cultivating. At that moment, he starts emitting a great deal of energy from the palm of his hand. When he entered the space-time corridor, the only thing he couldn't leave behind was this sword. It has been with him for 100 years and seems limitless, though he also doubts it has anything to do with this world. At that moment, a massive burst of energy is generated in his body, and he declares that he will bid farewell to his weak self. Several markings resembling some kind of ancient script begin to appear on his body. Smiling, the hero states that his spiritual body has finally been revived.